Hello, me again. All right, we're going to get into this Amazon um, OSHA citation, the second one. Talked about the first one back in module 3, I think. I broke it up because there's 3 of them, and they're similar, but they're a little bit different. So here we go. Just poking around, I found this one on the. So this one here is in Deltona, Florida. Not that that makes much difference because this looks like it's federal OSHA doing this. So here they go. Type 2, item 1, citation type 2. Citation 2, item 1. They seem like they're starting with 2 on every time. I don't know why. But here they go. 5A1 again. You know what that is? General duty clause. And it says the employer did not furnish employment and a place of employment which were free from recognized hazards that were causing or likely to cause serious physical harm to employees. And that employees were required to perform tasks resulting in stressors that had caused or were causing or were likely to cause musculoskeletal disorders. They're calling them stressors, which is not a bad term for them. So anyhow, notice that they're saying that causing or likely to cause serious physical harm. So it doesn't even have to be any harm yet for OSHA to do this, which I guess is okay. Okay. And it's their address and times and stuff like that. And then there's kind of a summary here. Employees were required to perform lifting, forceful exertions, twisting, bending, long reaches, awkward postures, and combinations thereof during the inbound fluid unloading task, placing them at risk for low back injuries. So a lot of this stuff in this course in ergonomics, we're going to hammer on constantly. Long reaches, twisting, bending, awkward postures, forceful exertions, repetition. They didn't mention that here, but that's they will, I think. And then another one here. This is a similar, but they're going to give you a different place, I guess. And again, doing the depalletized induct test, placing them at risk for low back injuries. Pretty much the same issues. And then on or about, okay, that they didn't give you a specific place here. Employees were required to perform manual lifting, twisting, and carrying of packages while holding a scanner from conveyor belts to cages, go-karts, and pallets at times. High vertical reaches or bending to place packages in the cages, go-karts, or on pallets caused awkward body and hand positions during the outbound sorting task, placing them at risk for low back and upper extremity injuries. So they're required to hold a scanner. So that kind of limits their number one, you're used to your hand. So you're doing a lot of things one handed. You probably use one a little bit, but you can't grip it properly. And we know that gripping is important when you're carrying anything. So let's see what they got to say next. Employees are required to perform lifting, carrying, forceful exertions, twisting, bending, long reaches, awkward postures, and combinations thereof during the outbound fluid loading task, placing them at risk. Okay. So written abatement certification is required pursuant to 29 VFR, whatever. So whenever you get an OSHA citation, you probably, once in a while it gets thrown out. I've had it happen, but generally speaking, it's going to stick to some degree. And you're going to have to do abatement, which means you're going to have to fix it. So among other methods, implementing a process-based approach with the following feasible and acceptable methods, this is back to what OSHA said now, of abatement, would eliminate or materially reduce the hazards. Now, you notice how this is expressed very well, by the way, I think. Among other methods, so there's other things to do too, a process-based approach is, and that's like an overall thing. Following feasible means that they're, they can be done reasonably and acceptable methods of abatement. So these are things that have been tried and true pretty much, would eliminate or materially reduce the hazards. So that's what you try to do in ergonomics. You can't always reduce. Something's got to be picked up. Something's got to be pushed, moved, but you can materially reduce the hazard. Worksite analysis to recognize and identify existing manual lifting hazards for all process paths in a workplace. This is OSHA recommendations now. And develop an effective ergonomics program. Conduct an ergonomic assessment by a certified professional ergonomist or other qualified professional. If you're looking for maybe a career niche in in safety, an ergonomist might not be a bad way to go. I think they're going to more and more be in demand. The analysis should include an assessment with validated methods, NIOSH lifting equation, lumbar motion monitor, or other validated ergonomic risk assessment methods for lifting tasks and employee participation, questionnaires and interviews. Again, questionnaires are great because you can get a lot of input from a lot of people. If you have 1,000 people in the plant and send them each a questionnaire, you can get back, maybe 300 or 400 answers. Or if you had to go around and talk to each one of them, it might take you a while. So periodic ergonomic surveys of employees and risk assessment of process paths in the workplace should be conducted at appropriate intervals to evaluate the effectiveness of controls. And of course, you'd also look at your incident rates and stuff like that, accidents. Training and education, including methods to evaluate the effectiveness of the training. Retraining should be done annually or as operations change. Retraining should be done annually. I don't care who you are, how smart you are. If you get trained once and never again, you're not going to be as up to date on the training as you should be. So retraining should be done annually. To me, is common sense, whether it's required by OSHA or not. And it's a smart business. You like in lockout, there's no provision to be trained annually, but every place I work, we did it anyhow. Training should be done in a manner understandable by all employees in a language that they speak. And this could be a problem someplace. It has to be done in a manner understandable by all employees in a language that they speak. There's like 3,000 languages on this earth. So when you're hiring people, maybe you need to look at that. But anyhow, chances are you have nothing to do with that. You got what you got. But if you have somebody that doesn't understand this, then maybe they are in the wrong job, or maybe you need to find. I don't know what to do about it. To be honest with you, we gave some ESL, English as Second Language training to some employees in California, and they just didn't come to them very often. So it just died for lack of participation. So anyhow, training should be done in a manner understandable by all employees and address hazards associated with work they perform, I should say. Early recognition of musculoskeletal injuries and illness. Early recognition, and I've told this before, it is so critical. Don't be afraid to talk to people openly and honestly about this stuff. They're doing a job that could cause them injury. Now, you're going to put that little nugget in their mind that they're going to get injured. Maybe you will, but it's a fact. You're doing this thing, it could cause them injury, and they have to know what the early signs. If you're using your right arm off them and your right arm starts to hurt a little bit, okay, let us know. That's an early sign, and the earlier you can detect it, any medical condition, just about the earlier detected, the better off you're going to be. And we did a thing at OK Foods where when an employee went to the nurse about a particular thing, we took them off of their job, put them for 3 weeks on another job, kind of a job rotation thing. And guess what? That dropped by 75% the number of people we had complaining about these types of injuries. So that works, believe me. So early recognition is good training. Ergonomic risk factors associated with the jobs is good training, and how to prevent musculoskeletal disorders. Of course, the risk factors, what was the main thing to prevent MSDs. The training should include the elements of the ergonomics program and the affected employee's role in the program. Training should also be provided to operations area managers and process assistants, as well as first aid staff. By all means, train everybody. A supervised training program should also be implemented to allow recognition of ergonomic risk factors or early signs of MSDs, and how to respond when risk factors are observed or when symptoms are reported. Training programs should include the establishment's healthcare providers to ensure that they are able to recognize symptoms of MSDs and are familiar with appropriate protocols for treatment of MSDs. Educational material or training on ergonomics should be provided to people responsible for designing jobs and buying equipment, tools, workstations, and parts. So let's see what OSHA is doing here. This is really, really good advice. And I'm glad to see something like this coming from OSHA, even though it's not a regulation, because this is something that you as a safety professional can use. Say, look, here's what OSHA recommends. And that's all they can do here. They recommend, because there's no ergonomic standard. But what they're doing here, whether they're intentional or not, is kind of making an ergonomic standard for a company the size of Amazon and big companies, because they cited these people here and these 3 facilities at Amazon for these issues, these 5A1 violations. And if one of their plants 1,000 miles away, after this is all said and done and resolved and abated and everything, if they have the same thing, guess what? That's a repeat violation. I know a violation of $20,000 or $30,000 to Amazon is a drop in a bucket. When you start getting repeat violations, and that really builds up. So what they're doing here is, in effect, not making a regulation, but putting the onus on a company that knows what to do, because in these three plants, assuming they do this stuff, they've done something, and it would behoove them to do that everywhere then. If you know what to do and don't do it, that just makes you look like a fool, and you probably are. So educational material. Okay. All right. This is kind of interesting too. People responsible for designing jobs and buying equipment, tools, workstation, and parts, they should be familiar with ergonomics a little bit too. Hazard prevention and control, which includes engineering, administrative, and work practice controls. Engineering and administrative work practice controls are kind of, we throw them usually under administrative, but here you go. These are terms you're going to hear throughout your safety career, that old hierarchy of controls. Better learn that. Engineering controls are designed by a qualified, certified professional ergonomist or other qualified professional. They usually throw that or other qualified professional there because not everybody has a certified ergonomist on staff, and may include workstation redesign, tool and handle redesign. So workstation, tools, handles, mechanical lifting aids. The goal should be to make the job fit the person. There you go. Ergonomics 101 right there. Administrative controls are implemented which reduce the duration, frequency, and severity of exposure to ergonomic risk factors. Kind of what I just told you about we did at OK Foods. These controls may include job rotation, reduction of repetitions, multi-person lifts, and maintenance of related equipment. Work practice controls are implemented, which include work techniques, new employee conditioning, and reduction of manually lifted package weight. In a place like Amazon, where they're not really making these packages, that could be difficult. Of course, they could sort them that way. They could sort packages by weight, I'm sure, and say, okay, now these are light, and we'll handle them one way, and these packages are heavier, we'll handle them a different way. And that's not a bad idea. Process path, inbound fluid unloading. All trailers, I don't know if the fluid they're talking about something a liquid or not, or that's just a term they're using. I'm not sure. All trailers received from Amazon facilities should be palletized on carts or in shuttle containers. Work with vendors whose trailers are not already palletized to get the load on trailer palletized. Replace manual pallet jacks with electric pallet jacks to reduce employee overexertion. Concurrent with this, implement a safe work practice program to ensure the safe operation of the electric pallet jack. When trailers run electric pallet jacks, you come under your forklift standard, your power industrial truck standard, if it's electric. And but electric pallet jacks are great. We had a lot of that OK Foods, and they're great, in my opinion. People can get hurt on them, though. They're still dangerous. It's like a forklift, but on a lesser extent, maybe. But you can have some pretty serious injuries on them. But as a rule, if they're done properly, they're great. When trailers to be unloaded are not palletized, implement the use of adjustable height powered conveyor systems and ensure that the conveyor is positioned inside the trailer close enough to the Amazon associate, which they're going to call AAs from now on, to eliminate unnecessary carrying of packages while unloading. So in other words, stick it in the truck so they don't have to carry the package from the front of the truck to the back of the truck. No more than one stride should be allowed from the lift origin at the stack to the lift destination at the conveyor. Implement a robotic system to unload packages onto a powered conveyor. Implement procedures so that all inbound and outbound manual material handling of heavy parcels inside Amazon and Amazon contracted trailers are performed by a minimum of 2 AA employees working in unison. Safety training and best practice protocols when working in teams of 2 in trailers will facilitate parcel handling and help mitigate musculoskeletal disorders. Implement and or enforce a team lift protocol for heavy parcels. While there are written guidelines for team lifting heavy parcels, they are not always practiced due to a lack of assistance. Unfortunately, that thing there happens all the time. You have people sit down and say, this is the right way to do it, and we're going to do it this way, and they write it down to a policy, and then it goes out in the field and nobody does it. That's sad. Utilize lifting assist technologies such as powered pallet jacks with clamping systems, powered pallet jacks with lift assist, and overhead articulating lift assists. There's all kind of stuff out there to manual lift stuff. Reduce the frequency of lifts to safe levels as required by the revised NIOSH lifting equation, which we're going to cover pretty much in depth, I think, in that like module 13, I think it is 13 or 14. This the revised NIOSH lifting equation is something that you need to be familiar with. Process path, depalletize, induct. Eliminate manual pallet unloading using fixed mechanical depalletizers or automated systems. Update the manual lift policy to reduce maximum weight criteria for manual lifts. This change will increase the handling movement of items by mechanical means. Provide lift assist to reduce forward bending lifting from floor height and to minimize repeated lifting of items from pallet to station. Provide associate controlled adjustable height workstations. Process path outbound sort, implement a no lift from floor policy. In other words, don't ever let anything on the floor. Engineering controls include portable carts to move parcels from one area to another and pallet lifts at the destination to eliminate lowering to below knee height. As a rule, you don't want to ever have somebody pick up something off that's below knee height. Electric pallet jacks that have clamp plates to lift and move heavy product from one area to another. Institute electric pallet jacks to replace manual pallet jacks, which they already said, of course, and you got to put a training program in. Avoid stacking heavy parcels above the 5th percentile for female shoulder height, which is about 48 inches. That's what. Carts should be marked to avoid stacking boxes above shoulder height, 48 inches. Boy, that right there, that could do a lot. Don't stack stuff higher than 48 inches, 4 feet. Right there alone for somebody that's doing a lot of this stuff could be a big factor. Implement lift assist to transfer packages from their origin. Use a wearable scanner on the finger or hand, or have wraparound or machine vision barcode scanners at the sloped surface of the workstation for products and at the workstation pointed at the location where the cart is stored. Remember, they said they had to have a handheld scanner. Now they're talking about something you put on your finger or have it wrap around, which maybe you can just use your hand still and just use the scanner. I'm not sure, but I'm sure if Amazon wanted that technology to be developed, that probably would happen. All trailers shipped from Amazon facilities should be palletized on carts or in shuttle containers. That's shipped from Amazon containers. Reduce the height of pallets from 6 foot to 4 foot for loading. There you go, 48 inches. And down stacking tasks. This will reduce potential exposure to low back and shoulder MSD injuries. Low back and shoulder, okay? Arms and low back are the biggest areas usually of musculoskeletal disorders. Replace manual pallet jacks with electric pallet jacks again. That's kind of across the board. So a lot of this stuff they're repeating because they're addressing different areas at a time, each area here. So when trailers to be loaded cannot be palletized on carts or in a shuttle, introduce power conveyors that are at floor level that angle up to waist level. Then parcels are staged by AA for outbound ship docks. So they're saying get stuff up on a power conveyor, so at least get them up to waist level. And again, if you can get something from the floor to the waist level with power assist and then carry it from waist level, well, that eliminates a lot of your stressors. Avoid stacking heavy packages above 48 inches. All right, we said that already. 2 people working together, safety training and best practice protocols with loading trailer will facilitate safe and effective parcel handling. Implement protocols that require and enforce team heavy lifting and reduce the frequency of lifts to safe levels as required by the revised NIOSH lifting equation. The nice part about this is you can do this and then you can do your fixes and things and then do again and see how you improved. And abatement documentation, it must be abated by May 30th. Okay, again, the abatement date was given a little over 4 months in this particular instance. Proposed penalty of $15,625. Again, to a company the size of Amazon, that's not a big deal. But the key here is OSHA is laying a foundation that if Amazon doesn't address these issues across the board in all their places, this thing could really ramp up. And that's the one last of that particular citation. So and there's one more we're going to talk about in the next module, I think. And there's also, I've seen more of these come through. So they are hitting Amazon all over the place for ergonomic issues. And that's, to me, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think they're going to go after these ergonomic issues. Why they're doing it? Because people are getting hurt. That's pretty much why. Again, they say OSHA regulations are written in blood. Fortunately, ergonomic issues don't usually involve a lot of blood loss, but they do involve a lot of pain and a lot of time off and medical expenses too. So, all right, that's it for this one, people. Everybody stay safe.